All right, welcome back. If you haven't been a fan of Ole Miss yet this year, this might just be the time to jump on that old bandwagon. You see the Rebels are undefeated and rolling.
Yeah, as you know, I've kind of had to jump on the bandwagon, Ruben. But that's right, it's a lot of hotty-toddy around these parts as the Rebs are the highest-ranked team in the SEC at number 4, their highest since 2015.
And they've earned every piece of that. Ole Miss is on a bye week this week, so everybody's taking a nap and relaxing. Just kidding. It's after defeating LSU 24-19.
It was a statement victory for the Rebs that let the world know this team is for real. And to continue the conversation about Ole Miss, you can't talk about them without having this guy in the conversation. He's the host of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, which you can catch on the 24 Plus app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Once again, welcome to the program, Mr. Stephen Willis.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're good to go.
Clap.
He gets you just get the one clap from Richard just because I want to see how long he can keep that one clap going. Let's get right into it. We say it's a bye week like it's time to relax, but it's really not. Talk a little bit about what the mood is in Oxford right now. That's the real question.
Kind of jubilant at the moment. I mean, number 4 national ranking, the reigning AP National Player of the Week on offense in Trinidad Chambliss. It's kind of all coming up Millhouse right now for Ole Miss. And you have Washington State, Wazoo, coming up next week, and then the Georgia Bulldogs. So this could go on into mid-October, this jubilation. And I know several people that are going to be very uncomfortable being that happy.
Well, I know we talked about it, Stephen. You said if Ole Miss won and Trinidad Chambliss got the victory, which he did, things were going to get weird. So let's look at it. 300-plus passing yards, 50-plus rushing yards for the 3rd straight game. He's the only SEC player to do that in 30 years. Have things gotten weird?
Yeah, I don't think things are as weird as possible. I think the AP did Ole Miss a heck of a favor last week because I just think the job is Trinidad's right now. The easiest decision there is who's going to take the first snap against Washington State. The other stuff, they're going to have to handle that. Lane Kiffin makes $10 million a year for a reason. He's going to have to make that decision. But for this year, for this team, for this locker room, Trinidad Chambliss probably has to be the guy. You saw them celebrating afterwards with him. You can see that Trinidad has that locker room after 3 games. And after you beat the number 4 team in the country, whether on the home or on the road, they now believe in Trinidad Chambliss.
Well, I think and real quick, I will give Rich his credit. You might remember, Stephen, after the very first week after the first time the Chambliss filled in, after the starter got hurt, Rich was like, Chambliss is the man. He's got to be the man. And I was like, well, we got to wait and see. Well, now he has proved, so you are correct.
QB1.
Doesn't happen very often that you get that. But today you are correct, sir. I will say this, Stephen, though, to your point, it would be awkward if Lane Kiffin decided to not start Chambliss because he has the hot hand. He has led them to all these wins. You could almost put yourself in a worse position if you don't start him.
Yeah, if for some reason they decided to go back to Austin Simmons. Now, remember, it's very important to remember this. Austin Simmons is not the quarterback because of anything that he did wrong. He is not at fault at all in this situation. It was just Trinidad came out and balled, and the locker room has seen him ball, which means if you flip the switch over to where Austin started, the locker room will be like, wait, what's going on? What's happening? Didn't we just beat LSU? And it's not anything against Austin. He did not do anything wrong. It's just that Trinidad has, honestly, he's become the story of college football.
Yep.
Everybody's talking about it. Everybody asked me online, what about Trinidad? What about Trinidad this? What about Trinidad that? And that on top of the story, the rise of Ole Miss, I'm telling you, if Ole Miss can get past Georgia and Oklahoma with just split those games, this is an SEC championship game team.
Yep.
And yeah, we talked about it getting weird. Well, the AP kind of gave us a reprieve from weirdness. But win the Georgia game, win the Oklahoma game, one of those two. You want to talk about weird? You want to talk about pressure? Because then you have South Carolina, good quarterback, Lenore Sellers, but Ole Miss is going to be favored by a touchdown. Florida, who knows what they'll be at that point.
Yeah.
The Citadel, yeah. Mississippi State is the hardest game after the Oklahoma game, after October for Ole Miss, which Ole Miss fans would probably be freaking out if they were 9-2 going to Starkville, Mississippi. And honestly, I wouldn't blame them.
So if I'm a Rebel fan, what is the ceiling and what is the floor? Because I've looked on social media and it seems like the sentiment is if we can go at least 3-2 out of these stretch, then we're good to make the playoffs. But now with the way that Ole Miss has been playing, you can say they have a shot to win every game. If I had to make my prediction today, I said they probably lose at OU. But now after watching UGA against Bama, I actually think Ole Miss can beat them.
Yeah, one of those things coming into this season is like Georgia hasn't lost a home game since 2019. Well, now it's Georgia hasn't lost a home game since Saturday. And that kind of changes the narrative a little bit of what's going on. They are struggling stopping teams throw the football, and that's problematic when dealing with Lane Kiffin and the wide receivers that Ole Miss has. They can't get pass rush on the game. Georgia is not a must or a will lose game. You don't chalk that up an L. It just went to the toss-up category. I do agree that Oklahoma game is now probably the toughest game on the schedule because Georgia is going to physically beat you up, and then you have to go back on the road again. If they have John Mateer, that's a pretty scary animal. But Ole Miss just needs to figure out a way to get 1 out of 2 in these games, and they'll be all right.
Well, that's the big question, though, when you talk about the Oklahoma game is will they have John Mateer? I know he had successful surgery, what the recovery time looks like. You know, is he back to full 100% for OU at that point in time? If he's not, then I think it definitely favors Ole Miss handily in that game. But to your point, your Ole Miss's schedule at this point, after having won some of the games that they've already won, really does set them up for success. Now, we all know we're Oklahoma State alums, so nobody knows more than us what it's like to play a great season and then lose it at the end.
Yep, and a lot of times it's been the OU.
Yeah, and so you could see this setting up for Ole Miss if they don't stay committed to, you know, that one game at a time. So what do you think, like, the message from Coach Kiffin and company is as far as, because, you know, sometimes the kids can start to believe their own hype a little too quick.
I don't know that that's going to be a problem for this team because of the group of people that went through last season. And there are players that went through last season to where Ole Miss had a 12-0 roster last year and went 9-3 with it. And because of that, everybody is going to step back. You lost to Kentucky a year ago. You can't necessarily overlook anybody. I think Ole Miss is going to be better in the tight games. Remember, last season Ole Miss went 0-3 in one-score games. This season already they're 3-0. The culture change within the program is pretty precipitous. And whenever you look at Trinidad Chambliss and that just a winning mindset of Trinidad Chambliss, I think that helps a little bit as well. They're like, hey, let's go ahead and go get this one. We can win any game. Doesn't matter who we're lining up against. Let's spot the ball and let's play.
Now, you talk about that game against LSU. Something that stood out to me was the offensive line play. They did not allow a single sack against LSU. It's the first time Ole Miss has done that since 2019. What have you seen from that line play? Because I know coming into the season, we were talking a lot about the injuries over there. To come out and do that against a top 5 ranked team, to me, was just flawless. I was so impressed with the O-line play, keeping Trinidad upright.
Yeah, and with Patrick Kudas having a rough start to the season and kind of coming on for the LSU game, getting offensive lineman co-player of the week for the Southeastern Conference, that was a pretty cool story. Ole Miss has really good tackles. I think that gets lost with what happened in the middle of their offensive line. Their tackles, Diego Pounds and Jaden Williams, they're really good players. if the inside, whenever Delano Townsend came back and that offensive line got secure, then it was just building continuity with one another. And LSU has some dudes, man. They really do. But Trinidad doesn't hold the ball. If you look at PFF, he holds the ball under 3 seconds on every drop back. It's get the ball distributed. He really does play point guard for the Ole Miss offense. And he gets them to the playmakers, Deuce Alexander, Trey Wallace, Caleb Odom, Caden Lee. Those guys just spray it around the field, and you'll be all right. And because of that mindset, the offensive line has a little bit easier thing, because I do think Austin Simmons, with as good as he can be, he does hold the ball a little bit longer. He has the Jackson Dart syndrome to his game from time to time, in the fact that he can make big plays, so he wants to make big plays, if that makes sense. Yeah. Trinidad Chambliss just wants to gain yards. He wants to stay on schedule. If explosive happen, they happen. But he wants open wide receivers. 9 different receivers caught the ball against LSU. 8 different receivers caught the ball against Tulane. Whenever you look at that, you can see what Trinidad Chambliss is kind of doing. And everybody gets mad at me for saying this. Trinidad Chambliss is a really good, really athletic game manager. Look at Ole Miss in the 4-minute offense. Look at Ole Miss in the 2-minute offense. Whenever you put that on top of his playmaking ability, especially with his legs, this Ole Miss offense has a chance to be not just good, not just great, but the best in the entire country with what they do, because you cannot defend them with 11 players, because you have to spy Trinidad. And Ole Miss, using all of the weapons that have been accumulated by Lane Kiffin, you can't just say, hey, there's Trey Harris. We need to bracket that every single pass. You don't know who needs the double team. You don't know who Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss is going to on any particular play. And because of that, this is kind of the perfect marriage at the moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would say, to your point, and I know we got to let you go, but to the point of less than 3 seconds, 3 seconds is kind of the marker for all quarterbacks. If you're holding it over 3, you better be running it at that point. That tells me that Chambliss reads really quickly, and the play calling is elite. Because when you're setting it up for your quarterback to be able to read his 1, 2, and 3, his top 3 reads really quickly, then that's how you get that under 3 second mark, just that quickness. So, all right, Stephen, before we let you go, we got to make sure that everybody knows about this in-depth interview you've done, apparently. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that before we let you go?
Yes, tomorrow on my YouTube channel, on my audio pod, a 30-minute interview with Chris Beard, the head basketball coach for Ole Miss, will be on there. We'll have a little snippet in the morning show and the full 30-minute interview that afternoon. Chris Beard was nice enough to give me a little bit of time, talk a little ball. We talked about Ole Miss's scheduling, the surprises coming out of the spring, the Ole Miss basketball team this year, Ilias Kamerdine adjusting from European basketball to American college basketball, all of that over 30 minutes. It was a really cool thing. Thanks for bringing that up, guys.
Yeah, and you can watch that by going to the Locked On YouTube page and by going to abc24.com. We got it right there on your screen. Click Sports, click Ole Miss, scroll down, click it right there on the page. We got it for you, Stephen.
Appreciate you, Stephen Willis. Have an absolutely great day, and we will check out that interview for sure. We'll let you get back to your maybe 3 or 4 hours of actual vacation or rest during this bye week. Have a good day, brother.
Thank you.
All right.